Hello my dear children, welcome to a brand new chapter, chapter 1, Nutrition in Plants. As we all know, we all require food. But what's the point of taking food? Yes, you said right. Food is our battery. It charges our body. The food that we intake contains various components called nutrients. And these nutrients are really important for our growth, development, tissue repair, and to fight against the infection. Yes, that's the immunity. The components of the food can be broadly classified as 4. The first one being carbohydrate, which gives us energy. Second one, protein, that helps for the growth and development. Third one is the fats or lipid, which is our secondary source of energy, or it also gives us insulation. And finally, we have the vitamins and minerals, which help us to fight against the infection. And the mode of intaking of the food, we call them as nutrition. There are two different types of nutrition, namely autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic, as the name indicates, it's autotrophic. Two words are there. Auto means self, trophic means nourishment. So autotrophic nutritions are a kind of nutrition which makes their own food, while heterotrophs, two words, hetero and trophs. Hetero means others and trophos means nourishment. So heterotrophs are those organisms which depends upon others for the nourishment. So let's learn about autotrophic nutrition. As I told you, the mode of nutrition in which organisms makes its own food using simple substances are called autotrophic nutrition. All green plants and cyanobacteria have the ability to produce their own food, and hence they are called producers. While animals are called the consumers or heterotrophs, they have to depend the plants directly or indirectly for satisfying their energy needs. Like I stated before, plants have the ability to make their own food using carbon dioxide, water and various minerals with the help of sunlight. So here comes the most obvious question: which part of the plant, or which is actually the kitchen of the plant, and how the plant is getting this carbon dioxide, water from the surrounding, and who is taking these raw materials to the region or to the kitchen of the plant? Yes, let's see every question in detail. Leaves. Leaves are said to be the food factory or the kitchen of the plant. So all raw materials like carbon dioxide and water has to reach the leaf for synthesizing the food. The water and minerals has to be taken from the soil with the help of root and must be carried to the leaf with the help of long pipe called vessels, the xylem vessels. So the xylem vessels, they form like a long narrow tube extending from the root, passing through the stem, branches and finally terminating in the leaves. So how about the carbon dioxide? The carbon dioxide is absorbed by the leaf through a minute opening present at the lower side of the leaf called stomata. Here is the stomata, that minute opening, and which is surrounded by a guard cell. When the guard cell swells, you see the stomata is getting opened. The carbon dioxide from the atmosphere get into the leaf, and when the guard cell shrinks, stomata closes. Here we have seen that the plant synthesizes their food with the help of carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight, powered by or captured by the chlorophyll, and hence we can say that the process of making food by the plants are called the photosynthesis. That is, in the presence of sunlight, the plants are combining carbon dioxide and water to produce the finished food. So till now we were talking about the raw materials for making food. So once the raw materials like carbon dioxide and the water, when they combine, they produce the food which we call them as a glucose or carbohydrate. In addition to carbohydrate, the most important gas like the oxygen is released by the plant. So you may say that the plant can convert carbon dioxide to fresh oxygen. So stomata, which act like a carbon dioxide gainer and the oxygen releaser, while the main product, the carbohydrate, will remain in the leaf, and later they will be carried to different parts of the plant for growth and development. The whole process of photosynthesis can be written as CO2 plus H2O gives carbohydrate plus oxygen. So the substance written on the left hand side of the arrow, that's the substances in the LHS, are called the raw materials, while the components written on the right hand side of the arrow is the products. So far we have discussed about carbohydrate. Apart from carbohydrate, plant requires lipids, proteins and various other nutrients. The carbohydrate, they mainly contains of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, and the same carbohydrate is used to make proteins and as well as the fats. But the proteins, the main component is nitrogen, which is absent in carbohydrate. So the plant requires the nitrogen from outside. We know that the atmosphere, Earth's atmosphere contains 78% of nitrogen, but the plant cannot grab the gaseous nitrogen. For that, there are special kind of bacteria present in the soil which can convert the gaseous nitrogen to the soluble form of nitrogen, and this nitrogen can be taken by the roots of the leaves with the help of or along with the water. You might have studied about fertilizers the farmers use to enrich the soil fertility. Yes, here you can see a fertilizer written as NPK. N stands for nitrogen, P stands for phosphorus, and K for potassium. So these are the three important nutrients the plant requires. So the farmers also apply fertilizers in the soil for enhancing the soil fertility. So till now we are talking about the green plants, and there are some plants which does not have this chlorophyll content in them. Since they don't have a chlorophyll pigment in them, they cannot harness sunlight and they are not able to produce food. That is, these plants need to depend upon other plants for their nourishment. Here in the picture you can see Kaskuta, or in Hindi we call them as Amarbel, which is seen climbing on a parent plant. The Kaskuta is said to be the parasite, while the main tree on which they are climbing is called the host plant. And the parasitic plant, the Kaskuta, they gain nutrients from the host organism, and as the parasite, the Kaskuta, takes more and more nutrients from the host plant, finally the host plants will be deprived of valuable nutrients. Can you guess this plant? Observe carefully. Yes, this plant is called the pitcher plant. You see a pitcher like, a vessel like structure? Yeah, that's a modification of the leaf, and these plants have the ability to eat animal. Strange, right? Plants eating animals. We heard of animals eating the plant, but here the plants eat animals. Animals here is the insects. See, this pitcher like or the jug like structure is the modified part of the leaf. The apex of the leaf, they forms a lid which can open and close the mouth of the pitcher. So when an insect lands on this pitcher, the lid shuts closed, and the trapped insects get entangled with the hairs inside the pitcher. The insect get digested and will absorb all the nutrients of that insect and taken and utilized by the plant for their energy need. And such insect eating plants are called insectivorous plants. Now dear children, observe this diagram carefully. You could see a fluffy umbrella like patches growing on the soil or in the moist places just after the rainy seasons, dear children, or during the rainy seasons. Those fluffy cute umbrella like structures are called the fungus or the mushrooms. And here's the other one. You may see a grayish patches on the surface of the spoiled bread. Again, these patches are the fungus. They are called the rhizospores. By taking these two examples, children, here these organisms, they cannot make their own food. They have to depend upon the dead and decaying matters like the moist soil, or here in the case of bread, they are depending upon the dead and decaying matters. So fungus is the best classical example or under those organisms which are depending upon the dead and decaying matters for satisfying their energy need. So this type of nutrition in which organisms they take in nutrients from a dead and decaying matters are called saprophytic nutrition, as well also called as the saprotrophic nutrition, and the organisms are called saprotrophs. Well, let me introduce another term to you, that is symbiosis. Symbiosis, two words. Sym meaning together, bios means life. So symbiosis means living together. Some organisms they live together and share nutrients and shelters. This kind of relationship are called symbiotic relationship, or simply we call them as symbiosis. For instance, mycorrhiza. Here fungus grow along with the or inside the root of the plant. Plant will give food to the fungus, while fungus will absorb nutrients and minerals from the soil and will be given to the plant. So mutually they are helping each other. Another example is lichens, where fungus will live in association with or in partnership with that of the algae. Here fungus will provide water, minerals and shelter for the algae, while algae will provide them with the finished food. Here you may see there are farmers spreading manures and fertilizers in the soil, in the farmland. Do you know why he is doing that? when the soil has all the nutrients? Yes, we just studied that plants will take up or absorb all the available nutrients from the soil with the help of their root. As you are growing more and more crops, the availability of the nutrients in the soil will get depleted, will get reduced. So, to enhance the soil fertility, the farmers will be applying manures and fertilizers. Remember, I told you before about an NPK fertilizer, nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. They are the main nutrient components required for the plants for their growth and development. If we are not providing the optimum amount of nutrients, so then the plant cannot undergo its basic life activities. In addition to that, there are some bacteria called rhizobium, which can be seen attached to the root of the legume plant. This rhizobium has the ability to fix atmospheric nitrogen and convert them into soluble form, which can be readily accessed by the roots of the plant. That is, the rhizobium and the plants are seen living together. A great example of symbiotic relationship. In this context, the plant will give the rhizobium free accommodation, that means shelter and food, while rhizobium will help the plant by fixing atmospheric nitrogen and converting them into the soluble form. As there are more rhizobium species attached to the plant, thereby you can reduce the use of harmful toxic chemical fertilizers. Okay dear children, that's the end of the chapter. We'll see you with a new chapter soon. Until then, take care. Bye bye.